So good morning, everybody. As you know, we're doing PSA critiques today, and JC is going to present first. Thank you very much for presenting. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay, so my group, we had to make a PSA about plagiarism. We started off with our first frame where the student gets the assignment and it'll just go voiceover. Plagiarism is a choice made by the student. In shot 2, it's the student immediately at a search engine, Google in this case. He's just typing in what he needs to look. And then again, there will be a voiceover that's going to say they are exposed to unlimited aids and sources, and then it'll show the kid typing, looking back at his paper.
Okay, let's talk about the intro so far, and then we'll come back to the rest of it. What is the rationale that the average student gives for plagiarizing? Let's just talk really frankly here. Carly?
I guess because just like the internet is just there and everyone has access to the internet.
Sure. So a person who is already plagiarizing is not very likely to consider an argument against plagiarism. You're dealing with an inherently hostile audience. So what JC needs to make sure is that at the very beginning of this PSA that she's grabbing the audience's attention. Did she do that? And how could we possibly make some adjustments? Reagan?
I thought you said it was always better to keep it active and not passive.
Very good. So how could we change this passive voice to active voice?
The student makes the choice to plagiarize.
Active voice inherently grabs attention better than passive voice does. What do we think of the article the here? Could we change this article maybe to a and make it a little more widely applicable to anyone? This is made by a student. One thing that I would point out in the second batch of dialogue, it says they are exposed to unlimited aids and sources. Remember we talked about pronoun consistency? What's the problem with the pronoun they here?
Well, you would use he or she.
Student is singular. What is they? Is that what you're about to say, Daniel? We could say he or she. I think that's kind of clumsy. I would personally rather make a decision. We have a male being represented in the picture frames. I would probably say he. If it's a girl, you could say she. And you could use that same model student throughout the entire video. Okay, Sarah, walk us through the opening couple of frames. What we're going to do is look at the first couple of shots and say, does the content of both the script and the representative frame help to both grab the audience's attention and to help them realize the alternative perspective that Sarah's coming from? So let's take a look at it. Read through it.
All right, the first thing I started with was explaining what I'm going to be talking about later on in the video, which is the eat now, talk later epidemic.
Let's go to frame 2.
And then the various shots of fast food, and that easily available fast foods dot every street corner, almost always busy and almost always open.
We could drop in the U.S. maybe.
Yeah, because it's certainly not.
I mean, if
specific.
the PSA is airing in America, I think you can
That's
always
true.
make that assumption. Just like in yearbook, we always tell our yearbook writers, don't use the phrase this year, because obviously it happened this year. It's in this year's yearbook. Easily available fast food joints dot every street corner. Almost always busy, almost always open.
Yeah.
I mean, Sarah's shot obviously is an exaggerated shot. It's kind of like in film dialogue, we always say that real life should sort of be condensed and heightened. So as we're editing this, let's just say to this, maybe condense. And we will look at a way to possibly condense that later.
What I talked about before is that eating fast food, maybe like on the way to work or on the way to school, sort of encourages doing things at the last second. So what I'm talking about here...
It's interesting. Sarah is really moving into a commentary on a broader cultural phenomenon, isn't she? Which is cool. I think when a PSA does that, it probably becomes a little bit more relevant.
We recommend taking those extra minutes, so like going out of your way to give yourself more time to sit down, eat, and talk to other people.
This is really great. I'd like to point out a couple of things. I think this bit of dialogue here is particularly impressive. The dialogue at the end, I do think I have a problem with we recommend. It's kind of it's kind of like Big Brother, is making this general statement. But who is the person doing the recommending? I mean, is this PSA maybe sponsored by a board of some group that's evaluating the psychological well-being of Americans?
Why don't you say instead of rushing to McDonald's, why not?
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I like that. Thank you, Sarah. I really, really liked this. And I think as we produced our next draft of this, I think you have a lot of really good material to work with. And
Thank you.
we're looking at a great, great script draft. So nicely done, you guys. Nicely done.